Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Jacinta. If this is the first time here, thank you for stopping by. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys how to cut and sew this simple Ankara dress. If it's what you love to learn, kindly watch till the end. And if you hate to subscribe, please hit on the subscribe button below and also turn on your notification bell to get notified whenever I upload a new video. So without wasting much time, let's jump right into the tutorial. So these are the fabrics I'll be using. I have 4 years of Ankara, 2 years of Aso Oke, and 2 years of lining. First, I'm going to fold my fabric into 4 because I'll be cutting the front and back piece together, and I will determine the wideness of my fabric, that is the width. To do that, I'm going to divide the biggest body circumference, my biggest round body measurement, which is my hip. I'll divide it by 4 and add extra 6 inches. Next, I'm going to mark a starting line. This starting line is also the shoulder line. Placing my tape on that shoulder line, I'm going to mark all my horizontal measurements. So go ahead and mark yours. For mine, I'm using 10 inches for the bust line, 17 inches for the half length, and from that half length, I'm going to mark 9 inches downwards for the hip line and 3 inches below the hip line. That is where the upper part is going to end and where the gathers is going to start from. After marking, I'll go ahead and square across these lines. On the shoulder line, I'll mark off of my shoulder measurement, which is 8 inches. I'll also mark the sleeve length. So this is a cut together sleeve, and the sleeve has Aso Oke extension at the full sleeve length. The full sleeve length I'm working with is 13 inches from the shoulder. I will minus 3 inches from the full sleeve length. The 3 inches is for the Aso Oke. So minusing that 3 inches, what I have left is 10 inches. So what I will marking on this Ankara is 10 inches. Still on the shoulder line, I'm going to mark my neckline. So I'm going to mark 3 inches for the neck width and 1 inch downwards for the back neck depth and connect with the curve. Then on the end of this sleeve length, I'm going to come downwards by 1 inch for the slope and connect it to the neck width like so. For the sleeve opening, I'll come upwards by 1 inch from the bust line. And on the bust line, I will mark part of my bust circumference and add extra 2 inches, 1 inch for ease and 1 inch for sewing allowance. Then connect it to that 1 inch I came upwards by for the sleeve opening with a curve like so. I will input other vertical measurements. On the half length, I will mark out of my waist circumference and add extra 2 inches sewing allowance, 1 inch for inch and 1 inch for sewing allowance. On the full length, I'm going to mark quarter of my hip circumference and add extra 3 inches, 1 inch for ease, 2 inches for ease, and 1 inch for sewing allowance. After marking these measurements, I'm going to connect with my ruler. And after marking, I'll go ahead and cut it out. After cutting, I'm going to separate the two pieces. One will be the back and the other will be the front. So on the one that I'm going to be using as the front, I am going to mark 3 inches on the full length, on the center front of the full length, and connect it to the neck width. That is 3 inches neck width. I will connect with a straight line like so and cut it out. So I'm going to be attaching my lining to this Ankara fabric. If you're not using lining, please go ahead and join your shoulders using 1/2 inch. If you're using lining, you're going to cut the lining exactly as the front and back piece. So these are my lining pieces. I was done cutting them. So I'll go ahead and place it on their matching Ankara fabrics and sew them round. I was done joining the lining to the Ankara fabrics. As you can see, what I'm going to do now is to join the shoulders of the front and back. To do this, I'll place them front facing front and join using 1/2 inch. I was done joining the shoulders. What I'm going to do now is to attach the Aso Oke. To do that, I'm going to measure from the down part of this center front to the down part of the other side of the center front. So you see I'm taking these measurements. Go ahead and do yours that way. And make sure to do this twice so to be sure of the accurate measurement. After taking the measurement, I got 66. So I'll be using that 66 inches to cut my Aso Oke. The wideness of my Aso Oke is 6 inches, 6.5 inches, which is very perfect for this. If you're using a plain fabric, what you're going to be needing as the width is also 6.5 inches. So now for the length of this Aso Oke, I'm going to measure that 66 inches that I got on my Ankara. That is to say that whatever you're using for your combination, the length is going to be whatever you got on your Ankara, and the width is going to be 6.5 inches. So that is the measurement I'm taking here. I'm going to add extra 1 inch to the length to be on a safer side and avoid any form of shortage. So go ahead and add 1 inch to whatever measurements you got from your Ankara. Afterwards, I will cut it out. What I'm going to do now is to determine and mark the front neck opening, that is the front neck depth. So to do that, I'm going to place my tape on the shoulder and mark 9 inches downwards. So it depends on what you want. If you want yours longer, you can do 10 inches or at the bust point. So I'm marking 9 inches for mine. This is where I want the neck depth to stop. What you're going to do next is to fold your dress into two like so. Make sure that it's equal, that the shoulders align, and from the midpoint of the back neck depth, you're going to measure down to that 9 inches. So you see what I'm doing? Go ahead and do yours that way. It's just like adding the back neck depth to the front neck depth. Mine is 13 inches, as you can see. I'll fold my Aso Oke into two like so, making sure that it is equal. From the upper part, I'm going to mark that 13 inches that I got. From that 13 inches, I'm going to keep marking the midpoint downwards, and I'll connect with a straight line. So I'm going to sew on this straight line that I've ruled. I was done sewing that center. What I'm going to do is to turn it. So you can see what I'm doing. This is how I'm going to turn it. It's very easy. Just watch closely and see how I am doing this turning. After turning it, you're going to have two sides. You're going to have two sides of this Aso Oke. So you can see what I did. It's very easy to do. Go ahead and do yours that way. After that, I'm going to pin the center of this open side of the Aso Oke to the center of my back neck depth. So I'm going to join it on both sides from the center to the full length using 1/2 inch. So it's advisable to pin it all through before joining. What I'm going to do now is to cut and attach the gathers. So the gathers is going to be a long piece of straight fabric that will fold at the bottom and gather the upper part. I minus 10 inches from my gown length, so that's what I'm going to be using for the length of these gathers. I added extra 2 inches, making it 12 inches. This 2 inches is for joining and the folding at the hem. So I'm going to mark 12 inches for the length and for the width. I'm not going to repeat any specific measurements because this is gathers. You can make it as long as possible depending on the amount of fabric you have. I folded my entire fabric and I've cut one layer, so I'm going to use it to cut another piece. After cutting this piece, I'm going to join the two of them to form one long piece of fabric. I was done joining the two pieces and I've also folded the down part, as you can see. What I'm going to do now is to gather the upper part. So I'll set my machine to gather stitches and I will start gathering the upper part. After gathering it, I'm going to join it to the lower part of my dress. So I'm going to trim off this Aso Oke and place the gathers to the dress front facing front, and I will join using 1/2 inch. I was done joining the gathers, as you can see, and this is what it looks like. What I'm going to do now is to cut and attach the pockets. I'll be cutting a square shaped pocket. To do that, I'll fold my fabric into two and mark 8 inches for the length and 8 inches for the width. Go ahead and cut it out, and I'm going to use this to cut the second pocket. I will also cut the belt. So I folded my fabric into two. This is for the two belts, and I'm going to mark 4 inches of width, and the length is 30 inches. So I'll go ahead and cut this open. So folding each of the pieces is going to give me 2 inches. Then I'll use 1/2 inch to close the belt, and I'll have 1.5 inches left. I made a slant at one of the ends. I'm going to fold it into two, and I will sew from this slant all the way to the other opening. I'll do this for the two. After sewing, I'm going to turn it from this end. Now I'm going to mark where I'll be attaching the pockets. So I'm going to mark my half length, which is 17 inches, and from that half length I'm going to mark 7 inches downwards. So my pocket is going to start from my half length and end 7 inches downwards. I'll mark this for the two sides of the dress. To attach the pocket, I'm going to open my dress and place the pocket on my dress front facing front. Starting from that half length, I'm going to sew I'm going to join my pockets to the dress using half inch. So I'm going to do this for the two sides of the pocket. So I'm going to join the two sides of the pocket to these two sides of my dress. That is the front and back side of my dress. So just like the way you see me doing, go ahead and do yours. I was done joining the pockets to the dress. I'm going to close the sides of the pockets using half inch. I'm going to join the other pocket exactly the same way I joined this one. These are my belts. I was on sewing and turning them, as you can see. So what I'm going to do is to also attach it to my dress. Okay, I didn't know my camera was not positioned well and it was not capturing when I was marking where I'll attach my belt. So I start my belt 1 inch upwards from where the pocket started from. So the belt is attached 1 inch upwards from the half length. That is exactly where I'm going to attach my belt. So just go ahead and mark 1 inch upwards from your half length and attach your belt. I will also cut out and attach Aso Oke to my sleeve. So first of all, I'm going to measure the round sleeve of my dress. That's what I'm going to use to cut the Aso Oke. I got 18 inches. So I'm going to measure 18 inches and cut it out on my Aso Oke. I'll fold it into two and check the weight, and it was 3 inches, which is exactly what I needed because I minus 3 inches from my sleeve length. So I'm going to cut it open. I'm going to join one to my sleeve using half inch, and I'll also join the other one to the other sleeve. I was done joining the Aso Oke. So the last thing I'm going to do to this dress is to close the two sides. So to do this, I'm going to place them together front facing front and make sure that the two sides align. I'll open it and I'm going to mark half inch from the sleeve down to the full length. 1 inch, please, not half inch. I'm going to stop where this pocket started from. I'm not going to close this side so that the pockets will be open. So when I get to that pocket, I'm going to stop. Then from the end of the pocket, I'm going to start again to stitch down. I'll go back to my machine and run the stitch. So that will be all for the cutting and sewing of this dress. If you find this video helpful and you've learned something, please do not be stingy with hitting that subscribe button and the like button. It means a whole lot to me. And also do not forget to turn on your notification bell so whenever I upload a new video, you'll be the first to be notified. So thanks for watching and see you guys in my next tutorial.